Hey guys, we're back to video 1, part 2. Sorry about the little interruption there. So like I was saying in toward the end there of video 1, so we've created a new database called foobar, and so now I want to create a table on that database to demonstrate how to drop a table and how to drop a database, and then we'll get into altering tables. So if we say use foobar, ooh, did I not create? Oh, food bar. Foobar. Create table. Fuzzy bunny. ID int primary key not null. Whoops. Identity value 1. Varchar. You're recording this, right? Cool. Say 30. It really doesn't matter. Not null default. So that's another thing to note. We can do default values with integers or money or dates or varchars as well. So now we've created our table. And if I do, you know what, I'm just going to do a multi-line comment here. That would be the smartest thing to do. This tables. Asterisk. See if it showed up in my Object Explorer. No, it didn't. Objects. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. Microsoft products suck anyway. So just to prove that it exists, select all from foobar. I'm sorry. Fuzzy bunny. So I have a table. So now to drop said table, I just say drop table fuzzy bunny. Why don't you auto-populate? So now, as you can see, if I go to select my data again, I have no fuzzy bunny table. So here's the one thing to note is that when we drop tables, we lose all the data associated with it. So the smart thing to do, and we're going to get into this later in the semester, is before we start randomly deleting stuff, we need to make sure that we're backing it up. Cannot emphasize the importance to you guys of backing up your data before any kind of deletion or any kind of major alter, right? So before any kind of major change, we need to make sure that we're backing up. That way, you know, if the change is bad or the change is incorrect, we're good to go from that perspective. So now we'll say drop database foobar, and so this will drop the database. That's the other thing. You can't be currently using foobar, so use Northwind new. Drop database foobar. Okay, so we dropped it. So now I want to go and modify some tables, right? And so there's a few ways that we can do this. The first is to just add a new column to a table, which is pretty simple. We can also drop a column, and then we can add constraints. Now we should be able to add foreign key constraints to it, but let me see. We may need to recreate our table and add the foreign key constraints. So to add a new column, right? So if we say select star from orders, if I can spell today, and say I want to add, actually, why don't I just still have all my stuff? I'm going to make one change here real quick, because I don't like the fact that use IT2060. We're just gonna recreate all this stuff on another. Yeah, let's just do that. Freaking Microsoft. You guys probably have heard me complain about Microsoft products a lot. So on Mac, there's a keyboard shortcut for me to comment. Can I? Is there one to comment? No, I don't see one. Whatever. All right. Order details. F5. We'll do the products table too. Okay, so now if I refresh, why are there no tables in it? Let me just disconnect and reconnect here and see. Oh, so there, now it's there. Nice. All right, whatever. whatever, SQL Server Management Studio. SSMS, whatever your acronym is. All right, so now we have IT2060. We're just going to use IT2060 because that's what I created. So I have orders, and I have some columns on orders. Now, I want to add some new columns to orders on IT2060. So I want to add a required date to it. And so the syntax is pretty easy. And what I do is I say alter table orders add required date. And so when we're doing the required date, we're saying, or when we're adding a column, we're saying add, and then the same syntax we use above. So add required date, date, null, and I guess I can't use parens. Okay, so yeah, don't use parens. Okay, so now if I refresh, and I view my orders table, and see now I have a required date. So pretty easy to alter and add a required date, or to add a column. Now, to add or to drop a new column, we're going to use pretty much the same. We're going to use the same alter table syntax. The difference being, we're going to now say drop column required date. And so now I really want to refresh this guy, but I don't want to have to dive back through. Oh, nice. Perfect. So you can see my required date is gone. So now the last step, well, there's two more. So now let's start mapping our foreign key constraints to our order details and our orders. I may have added this. Ah, crap. Oh, I did this wrong. All right, alter table orders drop column order ID. let's just drop the orders table and just re-add it. So much easier to do it that way. Did I drop? Oh, I didn't drop any of them yet. Oh, wait. I know what I'm doing wrong. I still know what I'm doing wrong. Let's see, Northwind tables. Okay, I see what I did wrong. All right, so we're gonna go over first creating a foreign key in the create statement, and then we're going to go over creating a foreign key or adding a foreign key through an alter statement. Okay, so drop. I keep doing that wrong. Drop. What don't you like here? Table order details. Art ID, primary key, foreign key, order ID. So when we start adding these foreign keys, we're going to do our constraints, and then we're going to tack on foreign key in parens the name of the column, and then references, and this is where we use references. Orders, order ID. What don't you like about that? Okay, so that's weird that it didn't like it because it did create the table. And we're just going to disconnect and reconnect. Just to get it to show up here. SQL Server is so user-friendly. SQL Server. No, I don't want to create it. All right, now you can see we've created our foreign key to order details. And so now this is going to require that whatever the order ID is maps to an order ID in orders. So now we're going to jump into our foreign key or our alter table foreign key constraints. So we're going to say alter table order details, add foreign key, right? And it's the same syntax we use right here, right? So add foreign key, product ID, products, product, and I need to add a references keyword, references, product ID. So now if I can refresh you, now you can see I've got a foreign key too. And then one last thing, let's go over adding, let's go over changing the data type on a table. So we'll say alter order details alter table, order details, alter column. And so when we're altering column, so we're saying alter table and then alter column, unit price. And in reality, well, we wouldn't want to make a foreign key, but alter column unit price, and then we're going to use the same syntax as before, right? So before we said not null, so we'll say float null. So now we're making unit price, instead of a money data type, we're making it a float and we're making it nullable. Okay, so that's a bad idea. So what you're seeing here is why we should always try to think through what we're doing here first, and diagram it prior to putting any changes in place. Let's change discount. Let's see if I can change discount. Discount to money. Okay, I think I know what the problem is. Let's take a look at orders. Okay, so yeah, so because we had a foreign key here, because we've got these keys, we created constraints that are preventing us from modifying discount or quantity. But as you can see, so I've changed price from money to float. And actually I can do float null. So we were money not null, and if I refresh, now or I was money not null, now I'm float null. See sequences. Don't want to talk about sequences. Let's see, where are we at on time? 18 minutes. Yeah, well, let me see. Okay, so one other thing I want to go over is table design. So what we're going to do, actually we can just do it in SQL Server Management Studio. Database diagrams. Okay, so what I did here, guys, is I went over, or I jumped into the database diagrams portion of the database here. I right-clicked it, and I hit New Database Diagram, and you can see I've got a database diagram. So now what I can do, you can see I've shown my relationships between my tables. And so now I can hit Add New Table, and I'll call it Employees. And now I can start adding columns. I'll resize you. I want to resize you. So I'm going to say employee ID. And what this lets me do is this lets me design my database without actually applying the changes. Int not null. And then if I go over here to the left or to the right, I should be able to add a primary key to it. Set primary key, and now I can click over here on employee ID and right click and hit relationships, and then add a foreign key, or hit add again. Well, let me see. No, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to delete that. So now, why can't I add a relationship? Okay, let me see. Okay, so now I can say primary key, employees, foreign key table orders. Employee ID, and then employee ID right here. And then I'll delete that, close. So now you can see I've created a foreign key relationship from employee ID here to employee ID here. So this allows us to go through and actually diagram our database without actually implementing the changes. So if we look at our orders table, you can see we don't have a relationship there to employees just yet. So that's another useful tool. It allows us to work through and think through a little bit more of our table design before we start implementing changes. So, all right, guys, that should cover it for this week. As always, reach out if you have any questions.